Magandang umaga hapon sa inyo lahat. Good morning. Buenos días. Secretary of Justice Crispin Remulla, Undersecretary Leonardo Cervantes, of course Undersecretary Severo Catura, congratulations for this investment that you are making with your team. Chairperson Richard Palpal Latok, Undersecretary Vasquez, representative of civil society organizations, their colleagues from the diplomatic community, and of course my friends from the United Nations country team. Needless to say that I'm delighted and this is an honor to be part of this type of event. And as I was mentioned in the video, every time we bring the issue of human rights, we have these beauties where the United Nations, civil society organization, academia, the private sector, the government, all of us, we get together. And this is certainly the recognition that the human rights is at the heart of sustainable development, and is what makes sustainable development inclusive development. So great honor as a UN representative. And as you know, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was drafted in the aftermath of 2 world wars that brought horrendous traumas at the global scale. The Universal Declaration was triggered by the urgent need to restore and protect human dignity. The Universal Declaration is fundamentally about our lives, and not only in time of crisis. It is about feeling safe when you walk down the street, about all our children having access to education, right to food, to have access to health when you feel sick. And these are the things that all people need to fulfill their potential and live in dignity and with a sense of protection and security. And as we know, the impact of the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, in fact, went far beyond its own times and borders. And someone mentioned that it's not just a compilation of words on a paper, and it's not just this event a reference to the past, because it's very much related to our current times and to the future. But when we look back to the Universal Declaration on Human Rights, we realize that, for example, it contributed to the decolonization process by including the right to self-determination and adding a sort of a moral authority to independence movement already underway in different parts of the world. The Universal Declaration on Human Rights promoted the principle of non-discrimination, serving as a source for civil rights movements and emphasizing the need for governments to move away from institutionally racist policies. The declaration inspired a legally binding convention on the elimination of all forms of discriminations against women, contributing to greater voice of women in political life, access to health care, closing the income gap, and many other areas. We also know that inspired constitutions, laws, national policies, all of them, they reflect the right and principles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It has contributed also to the development of international and national civil society organizations, those that promote rights, empowers individuals to take action, and allow people to raise grievances in a constructive manner. But we also recognize that this is work in progress. And perhaps these are the beauties of this type of declarations that refers to human values, this sense of permanent improvement. Groups that were not on the radar in 1945 are increasingly recognized now. Persons with disabilities, indigenous people, internally displaced people, in this country, migrant workers, older persons, the LGBTI plus community, amongst others. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights also offers a fundamental platform to address some of the emerging development challenges. Those that may put at risk our freedom, our privacy, and one of the examples is artificial intelligence. You know that the UN Secretary General just launched a process for the setting up of an international body for the regulation of artificial intelligence, and one of the key elements is precisely that should be a human rights-based institution. At the same time, I must admit that today's international context gives cause for careful reflection. And this is what we will take into account in coming 75 days. Inequality. Inequality remains a challenge, and it is growing. We cannot hope to achieve the dignity of all persons when a significant number of people globally cannot even access basic social services and economic rights, like adequate housing, basic health care, and quality education. Conflicts continue to emerge in various parts of the planet with detrimental impact on human rights, not only because they undermine rights of communities and individuals, but also because they often trigger responses that undermine the very principle on which the Universal Declaration is based. The climate crisis. The climate crisis also poses a serious challenge with those who are most vulnerable and poorest, those who have gained least from an environmental exploitation, also most likely to be impacted by natural disaster emerging from it. Civic space is under pressure in many parts of the world. This limits the ability of all people to play a meaningful role in political, economic, and social life, engaging in dialogue, questioning, and peacefully expressing dissent. So the human rights frameworks, the Universal Declaration, and the legally binding treaties provide, as was reflected by the previous speakers, a compass for addressing many of these challenges. It is not really a comprehensive and detailed roadmap, but rather a clear direction that should inform all our plans and actions, including the globally agreed Sustainable Development Goals. And implementation at the national level remains particularly crucial. And this is why I'm encouraged by the active engagement of the Philippines with international human rights mechanisms, including through treaty reporting and, of course, this very successful Universal Periodic Review. When the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres launched what is in fact part of his agenda in fostering human rights, the call to action for human rights in 2020, he said that human rights, and I love this expression, I think is quite visionary, expand the horizon of hope, enlarge the boundaries of the possible, and unleash the best of ourselves and our world. In other words, commitment to human rights remains the most effective way of building a development that is not just sustainable, but fundamentally inclusive. So I look forward to the various events scheduled in the period up to the 10th of December, when we will be celebrating together our Human Rights Day. Maraming salamat. Thank you so much.